Average Joe's Invitational League. It is Duck, your social media correspondent, here with the dandies of the dance in AJL's first season in 2026 or 2K26, the Dairy Daddies. At Chalupa at forward, which
Who
I
knows?
say,
Whatever.
yeah.
Point forward might be accurate. Yeah.
Point forward, TreBunny at center. Later on, we will have OG or Loyalty join us. OG at guard. Welcome. Good to chat.
Thanks for having us, Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right. Your first foray into the AJL was in 2025. Your scrimmage was against Brick Bros,
That's
RIP.
right.
Um, AJL rules were slightly bent. Maxine brought Rainey, who may have shot behind two or three screens.
I
What
remember this
was
now.
what was the group chat like after that scrimmage?
So we were obviously very paranoid about the rules going in, not because we sort of run a lot of like left, right behind screens, but just like we like screens in general, and so we were just hyper aware of it. But then when all of a sudden we're seeing it in our scrimmage game, the thoughts immediately were, well, maybe they don't take it those take the rules that much to heart. So that was a surprise until we found out after that we were trolled. But yeah, it was a nice introduction to the league and just a good vibes overall. That felt good despite us being nervous going in.
Honestly, it was. I think it was good because people, maybe because of the rules, and the rules seeming, anti-competitive. Not like that. Maybe like anti-competitive is the wrong word, but uh, obviously not the mainstream in terms of comp pro am. And there were definitely people on the team who thought the league would be a cakewalk for that reason. And I kind of knew that wouldn't be the case going in because you just have eyes and you kind of watch people play and you know that they're at a certain level. But getting our ass beat, even in this kind of like joking way, was probably good and like eye opening for people.
Interesting. Yeah, it is restrictive, but it also I think it tries to create play outside of the meta. So
Well,
it's
one
nice
Hundred
to
percent.
see.
the day that sort of rang home to me was going against at the time it was I believe it was the Dream Team.
Hmm.
And first of all, seeing exact replicas of Charles Barkley and other players was a delight. But that whole style of play that you're talking about, the the non-meta, and seeing more off-ball action, more motion offense, and seeing that team hum and getting our asses handed to us by that team, was also a reminder in a different way that the style of play that AJL promotes, we talk about it being more rec type play or non-try hard. I think is actually somewhere within the welcome message. But seeing how effective that was also was both intimidating and inspirational.
We still talk about that dream team. Honestly, that was probably the like if there's like a single game that was a big takeaway from our at least my first year in my first stint in the league, it was probably those games against the dream team because they were a team that felt like attainably beatable, but like doing something really strange that we weren't used to from more typical try hard circles and getting beat pretty handily by it was good to see. And as someone who likes experimentation, despite how I may run offense sometimes, uh, it was cool to see from like just like a personal enjoyment standpoint as well.
I love to hear that as somewhat of a descendant of that school of basketball, playing with Ant, uh, who ended up being a member of the Dream Team. It's fun to hear them discuss like that. I'm sure they will appreciate that. I will let them know of your fondness. But speaking of season one of 2025, you were middle of the pack in possibly the toughest basketball conference in the history of Western civilization. Legendary squads like Full Court Pressure, Gen X, dream teams, as you mentioned, for the geriatrics. Black Cloud, a comp franchise fallen on hard times. Their only win was against you. How did the competition
The-
How did the competition bulge you?
Again, it was eye opening because we honestly did think that we would be able to come in and make some noise early, and we didn't have a history with the league in terms of how good some of these teams were. So I don't think we really fully appreciated how difficult that division was until we were in the mix of it, and it just became a reality check of like, okay, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. So that was that was eye opening. I also just just inconsistencies overall for that squad. I remember just struggling from the 3 point line, facing those defenses, not being able to stretch the floor as much, especially for Chalupa at point guard that year, was difficult. But knowing now that that league was stacked, I am proud of sort of that the middle of the pack record that we got to for the regular season. Playoffs are a different story, though.
yeah, I mean, honestly, agreed completely. I think that I don't know if we were benefited or harmed by the relative difficulty in 2K25, where, and we'll kind of talk about it more when we get to this year, but we definitely had offensive struggles generating offense from not the, like non-PG, non-heavily offensive build positions because there was just not a very forgiving game. And if you had high investment in defensive ratings, it meant that you were going to be very limited. And some people could really excel with those low ratings, even in the difficult environment. But that was something we struggled with. And against good teams and good defenses, that was like probably our biggest pressure point in that first season.
Yeah, no, no easy games on that schedule. Um, First round exit, but the team boasted three All Stars: Chalupa, Trey, and him Shady. What did you take away from that season?
Oh God, quite a few things. One, again, the difficulty of shooting that year, um, and how, as Chalupa said, it was difficult for us to generate some offense. Two, I remember, quite frankly, we had another player on our roster, a guy named Hezi, that was on our end sort of thought of as a ringer because he's a quote unquote comp meta type player that does a lot of park play, ante up, that sort of thing, and we had an opportunity to bring him into a game for the playoffs. And I remember after dropping the first one and getting sort of torched by the team we were playing, we had an opportunity to bring him in, and we didn't. We stayed true to our lineup to go through, and there was both regret and also relief in that regard too, because I think we needed that to really solidify that this is, let's ride the horse that we came in on, and not and focus on the team aspect of things rather than just like bringing in someone that we felt like could carry us in a way. Because I think in AJL, what's becoming more and more clear is like no single player can carry a squad to a deep run or consistent victories. It's really got to be a team effort, which I think the rules sort of promote that sort of basketball.
Yeah, to that end, and this isn't meant as a call out, but I think just like looking at a lot of the top players, you see a lot of uh, single individuals on teams lower ranked in the standings that are putting up good stats, but the team success hasn't really followed from that. Whether it's guys like Knapp on Legacy Prep or Bulldog Dan on the Wildcats, uh, so I think that we felt that we were kind of experiencing that firsthand where just like putting all of the offensive load on one person, even if they can get a reasonable looking stat line from that, isn't a good way to win in the league. And this year, I mean, even in our last run of games, we've played against Gator Nation from I forget which team, if whether he's on True Form or Risky Moves, that's my fault. But we played to the 50% of shots rules, like tactically in our game, knowing that he was over that in the third quarter. We changed the way we played defense, and that allowed us to probably get a win where we might it might have not happened in that in that year. So like that's kind of the rules performing as they're intended to, I think, in terms of trying to get the ball spread around, and it's something that we had to learn firsthand, losing a lot in that first season.
Interesting. Chalupa, you took following season off. Trey, you had limited involvement with the team. Where did you go? Where did your feet take you?
Quite honestly, it took me a little bit further away from 2K. This is that particular 2K, as I mentioned, the offensive woes that I personally was experiencing, the 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 level of difficulty and the of that addition to the game compared to previous years, burnt me out a little bit. And other games came calling. I probably spent more time in Rivals for the start of this year than I did with 2K at the time. So that was just me exploring other avenues, but still wanting the team to stay involved and create the opportunity for our players to experience pro-am play. So I just tried to stay involved from a administrative point of view, helping coordinate games, making sure that they had fills and filling in here or there. But really, the reins were passed to Rybot, another a friend of ours, and OG, who's will be participating in this interview later, to carry the torch in season two.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think a lot of the same things about just the general displeasure with the game. I think pushing as hard as we did was not beneficial in the long run. I was definitely burnt out by December, and when people went to other games, I also did. But I'm a less diligent leader than Trey is. I was pretty much completely MIA for the rest of the year until this 2K dropped. So I don't think I played a game of 2K post December
Oh wow.
at all. Yeah, which proved interesting coming back and then trying to re-get my bearings this year. But yeah, I spent a lot of time playing Teamfight Tactics. Like really threw myself into that game and trying to compete there with mixed to not very much success. But that's a story for another day.
And funnily enough, too, the I think what sort of added to that burnout was that the Dairy Daddies were formed actually in a little bit of spite. The organization that we're part of, the Canada Geeses, which Chalupa has been running over 5 years now, had sort of, we had an original team that featured the administrators of that organization, and we had split apart at the start of that year's 2K into other pro-am teams, and Chalupa and I had formed the Dairy Daddies in sort of response to other players moving on to form their own pro-am teams, OG being one of them. And so we had formed the Daddies with an expectation, in a desire to sort of prove out our worth and merit. And so I think that added to the pressure of that first year, and that playoff flame out definitely hurt a little bit.
We are now back with the Dairy Daddies. Now we have Loyalty, OG here joining us. Loyalty, you joined the Dairy Daddies in 2025 season two, and you have been a key member of the lineup in this year as well. But back to that season two, and this is a broader question for the three of you. Season two of 2025 saw the same place in the standings. I think the fifth seed. Though you did tiptoe your way to an improved record in the toughest conference in the history of Western civilization. Another first round exit by the same team for the geriatrics. Is Young Buck GM your nemesis?
Oh, excellent question.
Uh,
I'll defer to OG on this one since he participated more in season two.
yeah, I joined season two late. I was on the roster, but I was more of a fill man. And then I kind of took off midway through the season. I guess I was partly or fully in the roster at that point. But would he be my nemesis? Absolutely, 100%. He's a really good player. I played with him. Played against him. Started this season. And I think might have been, was he our first game Trey? I don't remember. I think he might have
One
been
of
our
our
first
first
game.
early games, yeah, especially when we were still figuring things out and
Yeah,
we took an L.
one of. the
Hmm.
first games, and I'm pretty sure the first game we lost against them.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, pretty badly
and then
too.
we got our get back on them. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
ready. I'm excited.
OG was very excited, I can say from experience when we got that win, and yeah, Young Buck's definitely someone that we've had like lots of like long term experience with. He was actually someone who I met a lot in random rec last year, and like enjoyed running. We would often get like stuck running the one or two and like splitting duties on our point guards. I bet he doesn't even remember this or know that this happened, but yeah, I can like he's someone who I always, especially when I'm on small guard, was like comparing myself to and trying to like overtake.
Season two also brought about new faces in a bigger roster. As we mentioned, the return or the premiere of Loyalty, Javion, and Rybot's move from Block to PG, all three recognized as all stars, as well as another person in this room. Loyalty, how did that second season shape the squad?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The captain at that point was really Rybot. Credit goes out to Rybot on this one.
100%.
He organized everything, set everything up, had the rosters flowing. I think, yeah, I think it was a combination of who just gelled together the best at that particular time when he set everything up. I remember rotations were being moved around. People were moving from PG to shooting guard to lock. I remember, I think it was the playoff game. That's really when all of a sudden I got shifted to the PG duty, and Rybot went down to lock, and yeah, it was interesting. It was good movements, but I can't really say a whole lot on the construction of the Dairy Daddies at that point, just because I was not a part of the team fully, if that makes sense.
And
I was kind of brought in.
I think that that also paved the way sort of into our approach at the start of this season for this cycle of 2K, in the sense that it broadened our roster, as you were saying, you know, expanding it to new players that were either just experiencing Pro-Am for the first time or wanting to check things out, and us wanting to run with a much larger roster at the start of the season, particularly, which led into strategy then for this year.
Absolutely.
Where is Rybot?
Surprisingly, actually, he's made his triumphant return. So at the start of this cycle, there was a lot of skepticism amongst us because of this particular 2K, given our experience with the last one. And you know, this was the first season I did not pre-order. I don't, Chalupa, I don't think you did either.
Nope.
OG would always has been playing 2K.
Definitely pre-ordered.
This is a diehard from jump. But Rybot actually was one of the leading in the charge of sort of this anti-2K movement, where we were even lobbying for others to not play the game with us this year, and he held out up until yesterday when he made his triumphant return. But he is hilariously not rostered with the geese for the season, with the Dairy Daddies for the season, which you know, so far to date has been one of our more successful years.
I did want to call him out because I thought that at PG he brought a different look to your offense in season two. I don't know if anybody discussed it. I don't want to discuss it particularly too much, but I think he did something that was fairly successful against what I thought was the best 3-2 defense in the league that year, which I personally, of course, have some opinions about. But shout out to Rybot. A break from the AJL for a second. Tell me about your entrances to the franchise. When did you guys start playing 2K?
I mean,
OG,
I'm
I'll let
pretty
you go.
new. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we're going in the order of
Order.
seniority, 100% it should go to OG.
I started back in Dreamcast, so the very first online 2K was way back when Allen Iverson was on the cover. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
remember what year that was. Um, and then when I started playing competitive, would have been 2K15 is when I started playing competitive 2K?
Like I had played 2K a little bit as a kid, offline and whatnot, like doing franchises and like 2K9, 2K10, PS2, early PS3 versions of the game. But I kind of just didn't touch it. And it really wasn't until like the later 2010s that I became like a bigger basketball fan. And I got 2K22, I believe it was, the one with Luca slash Dirk on the cover. And that's when I started playing online. I played a little bit of my team before uh, trying to be my player. And that's when I got into all of this, and I kind of started trying to take it pretty competitively from the beginning. So in at least some forums, I was online and trying to do leagues and stuff from 2K22 on.
And for me, not to betray my age, but I remember playing, like you were saying, on the original Dreamcast in college, and just creating a version of our fraternity as a team. I think we were called Shibi at that point, and but I did not play online until actually I had met Chalupa and OG in our original foundation, which was the GVO, the Good Vibes Only organization, and I came in very raw, especially as an online player. The only reason I was playing online at that point was the game did not offer goggles in my career, and I needed to grind in order to get said goggles, and that's when I started playing online because of that. And I came in as a inside only power forward, um, at which point I had to learn the game from Chalupa largely to help me with the build I can work on, and then fundamentally from OG, grinding hours on my court, learning how to set picks and what exactly that looked like in an online game. I had never heard of a Dex before until I had met these guys, and yeah, here we are.
That's interesting. I didn't. I met you guys in the 22 version, and I didn't realize that you guys were fairly new to it. Loyalty. Were you Sunset Beach, Rivet City, or was it Old Town Flyers?
I was Rivet.
Oh, I was Sunset, and we absolutely loved going to Rivet, and just the battles were fun. I
They
wonder.
were.
I wonder if we ever saw each other in the parks. That would have been cool. All right. Back to AJL. You took season 3 of 2025 off, came back refreshed for 2026. You have tap danced your way to the top of the standings. You in Crash Out Kings. It's like somebody plays a game, somebody moves up, somebody else plays a game, somebody else moves up, but you two are right there. Last I saw in the standings, you were in the number one spot, so I'll give you credit there. How does it feel to be atop of the AJL?
So for me personally, this was a surprise, and also a reckoning in a way. I will say that at the start of the season, because of the antipathy in the group and the sort of coming everyone sort of coming back together and dusting things off, we weren't sure what we were going to field, and to this point, I had not really reached out to Chalupa nor OG about organizing, and I sort of took it upon myself to just try to make it, see who was interested and try to make a roster as large as possible. Anyone who's sort of interested in checking things out. I knew that the experience was good for people to get some experience, but I did not have high expectations going into the year. But quite quickly, I reached out to OG to sort of help me organize, talk rosters, talk strategy, and slowly work Chalupa back into the fold at that point. And as the year sort of morphed on, which was supposed to be for me a year of sort of just being like taking more of a GM role, we found our chemistry once again, which has been building for several years. And I think what you've seen, the most recent success, has been both a testament to that of bringing in some new blood and really the hard work that these guys have put in. I can't tell you how many hours both Chalupa and OG have spent, reviewing film and working with our guys and fixing fundamentals and talking strategy. And I think that's what's really paved the way for a strong run here to close out the season with I believe like 9 to 11 straight wins. So that's testament to their hard work.
I will just say too that I think the whole organization has really been improving. I will say that I think the three of us are playing better than we ever have, and that continuity has just been like continuously building. And there are like some things that we'll get into later. I'm assuming uh, that like might be fueling our most recent run of success as well. But I can guarantee that we wouldn't have expected the rest of the organization to be doing as well in the games that we aren't prominently featured in. I wonder how many games even have we've played with the three of us all on the court yet at the same time, and it's because of guys like Diz and Jers. Like we've run four different point guards over the course of 20 games this year. Every one of them has had lots of success. Jers is tied for the league lead in assists. Diz is a 20-point per game scorer. Javion is like one of our most versatile players, playing in a ton of different roles, including the PG, and yeah, that kind of leads into our ability to throw out different styles and looks as well. Where we've had some games where we pull out small guards that are three hunting. We have rim runners who are primarily bringing up the ball, and like everyone's ability up and down the lineup to create their own shot has been like a big step forward for us organizationally this year. And part of it is the game is like kind of lets you do that in a much easier way than it did last year, but a ton of it is just like individual skill development.
Yep, I agree. Um, and I think not only having a large roster this year kind of helped us. Um, it gave us an opportunity to kind of see where everybody was at. Can we mesh on the court well? It drove. There's a bunch of new guys that it drove to really want to even enter the AGL, which is amazing for us, right? Like this is what we've been striving for years now. So now we got more than one Pro M team, which is amazing. Um, but yeah, just to see for me, I think the biggest drive this season, more than any other season, was just seeing the three of us really on the same team. Um, like we started the organization way back. Um, and for me, I was super locked in because I remember film way back with Trey and Chalupa when they first started out. And I remember hounding them for literally 3 to 4 hours where we would sit down and review film, not even play the game, just review film. And that was after a rec game. So I was just like, you know what, like this just shows the amount of hard work that these two guys have put in to get to where they're at right now. And as one of the old heads in the crew, my job is not to disappoint, and my job is to bring my best foot forward every time and see where we go with it this year. And I think we have a really good chance this year to get far.
Highest points for in the league, second highest average. I think you have one more game played than Crash Out right now. Looks a little different on offense, at least some of the games that I've seen where the three of you have been on the court. What are you willing to say about what you're doing this year?
I think the meta in 2K has always been a point guard centered, and it's something, Duck, I know that we've spoken about, off the record, in terms of trying to unlock gameplay that may look a little bit different, especially for a league like AJL where it's less screen dependent, less left right cheese dependent. But the burden has always been on the point guard to sort of carry that offense in that way. You know, at the core of everything though is our defense, which interestingly here, like Chalupa between Chalupa and OG, the way I like to think of them is sort of our offensive and defensive coordinators. On offense, I think what we've unlocked with Chalupa sort of running point forward for us is to share that burden of shot creation while letting Chalupa's creativity for play design run. And then from a defensive point of view, not to give up too much, but I will say that OG has continues always been sort of a master at trying to read what what teams what we need to be doing to counter what certain teams are giving us. But the key for that is to not really have like a weakness, no one for someone to pick on offensively on the end of the court, and then the scheme around that.
Yeah, I'll say that like on offense, I think that my recent foray onto this point forward build is helping us. I think like some of my biggest strengths are scoring at all three levels, and that's hard. It's harder to do on a small guard. So like the fact that I can unlock standing dunks or like attack holes in the zone really lets me kind of like play off ball effectively, and it really uses like the chemistry that TreOG and I have passing to one another, knowing like where we like the ball and when to get each other the ball in certain spots. Uh, is significantly easier when I can just kind of throw the ball out to OG or Trey, get to a spot where I think I'm gonna have a good opportunity to create a shot, and yeah, the offense is gonna just flow better that way. And it also means that we have different, the same way we have different options on defense that we'll get into in terms of like guarding different actions and trying to find the right matchup for the the challenge in front of us. We kind of have that on offense as well, where it's fully there are obvious drawbacks to running a primary ball handler as big as mine is, and the fact that we can have a secondary guard, whether it's Javion or Him Shady, Adam, or Jers or Diz, uh, to throw a different look, and they're all bringing something like slightly different. It also means that the offense gets inherently more diversified, right? Because when we're looking for a certain type of shot, it's going to be a different person who's bringing up the ball. We've definitely moved away from pick and roll more and more, although we think it's important to be able to run a lot of screen actions, and I think that we're still one of the screen heavier teams in the league. I just think we do it in kind of an ethical way, if that's fair to say. Lots of off-ball screens to get each other moving and create confusion for the defense. So we use a lot of off-ball screening for our motion game, and pretty much, and that's another thing that the group has improved on. We just don't have people sitting still as often as we used to, and I think that's big because we're not getting in each other's way while still creating confusion for the defense with those off-ball movements. And yeah, everyone's getting on the same page. We're slowly adding to our playbook, and that's been really helpful to diversify the offense.
Yeah, love to see it philosophically. Don't particularly like to see it when I'm on defense, but it is what it is. Speaking of defense, you have the highest point differential in total in the league, second highest average differential. Shout out to FTG there, and I think that's as close as we can get to advanced stats when we think about pace, when we think about defense. So clearly the defense is working. OG, tell me again, as much as you're willing to talk about what you guys are doing defensively this year.
Defense this year has been one of our main focuses, especially for me. Like, I'm all about defense. I played in different competitive leagues. I've never been one to score heavy. Um, Always relied on my defense to kind of win the games. So this year I've just been reaming the guys really for just playing our set defense and throwing different looks at opponents, seeing what kind of offensive schemes they're running. I've been able to switch up our defensive lineups depending on if it's, let's say we have, a team that's heavy motion, then I can switch that around. Not gonna say how we're doing it, but I could say like we were able to figure out what the offense is kind of giving us and then adjust accordingly from there. Um, it's hard to get into the to the gritty of it all without kind of throwing our secrets out there, but I'll just keep it at that for now.
Sure. Love to hear it. For full disclosure for the viewing audience, OG taught me how to play defense or I guess digital defense. It's quite the difference going from the real world to the 2K world. Um, all right.
Shout out real quick to a lot of our ringers, guys who only played a couple games this year, put up really big defensive performances in terms of turnovers, which we've always been as a group a low turnover generating team. But guys like Jalen, Puku, Hezi, were all able to come in their games and generate lots of turnovers. James has been kind of a mainstay, first as a reserve, now as a starter, most likely moving forward. Um, and his turnovers are up as well. So just getting better at generating turnovers is obviously a big help on defense as well. And I wanted to shout those guys out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Who do you get hyped up to play in the league?
I get hyped up for anybody. I love basketball, period. So any game I'm kind of thrown into, I'm getting hyped up over. You already know who my nemesis is, so I don't have to really go into detail on that one. But yeah, I think there was a few teams this year, especially that had roster changes just recently that we played against at the latter end of the season, and just saw huge improvements on those teams. They kind of give us different looks that we weren't kind of ready for, I would say. Um, and I think I expect that in the playoffs more than anything, as people throwing all sorts of different schemes at everybody, right? That's the expectation, anyways. So I'm excited
Yeah,
regardless.
100%. I mean, you mentioned obviously us bowing out to FTG, so there's an element there of wanting to raise our game to that level. But at the same time, I think up and down the roster, especially as you've seen late season, some of these rosters morphing and shifting, that there are. Uh, I think any team can beat any team in this league on any given night, and I think that's a testament to the style of basketball played as well as the balance of this year's 2K. But for me, always seeing Duck you across there, given our history, regret giving our my experiences with him also at NCAA and some of these older teams as well. But overall, I think every team deserves respect, and if you don't respect them, that's when you're staring at an L.
I have like a lot of personal investment in my matchups with Crash Out Kings this year. They have the only game I've lost while I've been in the lineup is against Crash Out Kings, and that was a massive blown lead. It was actually on the bump steel patch right after season two dropped, and both Draco and I kind of had miserable games and we were having a tough time. But we went into that fourth quarter with a big lead and just got completely trounced, and we lost. We let go of the rope, so one, it was really good to get back against them, bring the series to 1-1 against them if we see them in the playoffs, the rubber match. But big shout out to Crash Out Kings. They're very scary and a team I'm always looking excited to play against.
Similar to Kamikaze, you've run a PlayStation Network chat or a Discord for a while. As you mentioned, originally called GVO for Good Vibes Only. Now the Canada Geeses. I am a product of that Discord. You definitely try to mold those who may not have had comp experience into competitive players. I remember vividly in a rec run, Chalupa passing to me off an offensive rebound, me not being in the corner because I was getting back, and a gentle voice becoming slightly stern saying, if you're in the corner, I expect you to be in the corner. And that taught me what I needed to know about holding spacing on the offensive end. So you have a brand of basketball. What would you say are the components of the Geese brand of basketball? And if you have any thoughts about how it's changed over the years.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that we definitely, because so many of us were so young, right? Like I came in and I made GVO in pretty much my first month of playing online. Like I tried to join a few other groups through Reddit and wasn't really having like success, like finding exactly what I wanted. So I wanted to make a group that was for me, I suppose. A big part of that, obviously, you can tell given the name, was good vibes and trying to get away from the toxicity that the 2K community can be known for. And as a new player, I wanted to be taught and not have my hand held, not carried, but had, yeah, just been helped through the way that like a young player or someone who's new to anything should be. And that was definitely the environment that we strive to create. And I think that both because of my inexperience at the time and because that's what we were trying to cater to, we really focused on simplifying and calming down the game. We wanted the game to be less chaotic. I think was like a big part of our early philosophy, and that kind of applied to both ends. Like we would play conservatively on defense. I think a lot of people would say that like maybe we weren't applying enough pressure. Offense would be pretty stagnant because it was teaching fundamentals of having people maintain space, like you're saying, fill the corners, uh, touch corner when you're getting back in transition has always been a big component for us. Staying down to ensure you grab the defensive board, things like that. Um, and as people have improved, as like the whole group has leveled up, uh, we've obviously been trying to add more and more to that. Uh, but I think that idea of calm is where maybe like the root foundation is, and I think even though we've changed, it's still there in large part.
I was just gonna say, um, in my entrance to GVO, I remember being recruited by some guy named Chalupa way back. Um, and the vision for GVO at the time was recruiting players that wanted, you know, a good community, a community in which it wasn't toxic. People could learn just how to play the game of basketball, whether, it was just for casual reasons or for competitive reasons. At that point, I don't think we really cared. We just wanted to surround ourselves with people that just enjoyed the game. And as the years progressed, this credit to goes to Chalupa for all his hard work. We were able to kind of morph ourselves, right? Like we kind of built this identity around GVO, which later turned to the Canada Geeses because, again, I'm from Canada and somebody thought it was hilarious to name it after Canada and a geese. But yeah, it gave us an opportunity where we kind of started getting really competitive players and casual players. And I think we had to find what our main agenda was, like what were we striving for. And I think we've accomplished that more so this year. I think out of
Hmm.
all the years, I think we found what Canada Geese really stands for, because I think now you see this community where everybody wants to play the game because they just love to be around each other. I come from, playing 2K as long as I have, came from a lot of different communities, still involved in a lot of different communities for different reasons. But I wanted to get away from the toxicity of it all. Um, as a new father at the time when I entered GVO, like I just kind of wanted not to be in the comp scene, but still enjoy. Like 2K is the only game I play, or spend a lot of time playing. So like I didn't want to be as toxic as I was before. So when I entered GVO, me and Chalupa had this discussion. I remember way back of like I kind of just wanted to hoop, and I didn't care at the time whether we were taking L's, whether we were whatever, as long as we were just working on something. And I think that was my runs with you, Doc. I remember those runs where it was a lot of just learning spacing on the court. I remember yelling at people just to get back on defense, or small things that I think like is just embedded in GVO now.
Yeah.
Um, like it's just part of our culture, I think, at this point, where it's not something that we kind of have to teach really. I think people kind of just pick up on our play style at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
Go you go, Trey.
to add to that, I mean, loyalty does come from a highly competitive background, and that experience has carried through to up our game. But at the core of everything is still that community. Whether it's this game, even other games that we've branched out to, the bonds and the friendships that we're forming. I mean, hell, I've hung out with these guys in real life multiple times. Whenever anyone's in Chicago area, I'd love to see them. That adds to to make the game both primary and secondary. The 2K is what brought us together. Us leveling up on the court has brought us even more together, but the core of it all is still those bonds.
What makes a good goose?
Knowing how to play zone, um, knowing how to take constructive criticism and to listen to one another and to be respectful of one another, putting the community above the self, putting the win above the self, and just sharing the ball.
Absolutely.
couldn't have said
Agree.
couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. Loyalty. A nice arch or a shapely toe?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Ah, I've seen Trey, so I'm gonna have to go with the with the arc.
I don't got them painted as often. That's why.
Trey, do you still think that non-primary ball handlers should not call a Fifi?
Given the fact that I have regularly called Fifis in the game without the ball necessarily in my hand, I would have to say my stance on that has shifted somewhat. Depends on who's calling it. Let's put it that way.
All right, and then this is for all of you. What have you enjoyed about your time in the AJL?
I'll start on there. This has been a joy to be part of this community and bring sort of our community into this world. It's been the organization, the support from the mods and the admins, just really a professionally run org that's not built upon these buy-ins, not built upon the competitive sweat and toxicity that even our organization was founded upon. To see people come together to create that experience for others and make and mold that experience for themselves. It's a league that I think that we need more of in the 2K community.
I completely agree with that statement. I think communities like this need to exist, especially for the old vets that want to get away from all the toxicity. This has been a life changer for me. Like it's still competitive enough, but it doesn't have the toxicity that follows along with a lot of the major leagues.
And I stand by the idea that I'd love to see some of the top AJL, whether it was like an all-star team or AJL champions going up against even high-end pro-am teams in more respected leagues, quote unquote, like SIBA or whatever. And I think you'd be surprised at how they gave them a run for their money, even while being uh, what some might call restricted and others might say freed, given the way that the game is supposed to be played in AJL.
Yeah. Loyalty, 71st in Canada, at one point 43rd. I didn't know Canada had 71 people playing 2K. I figured they'd be into Big Buck Hunter or tossing back Labats and playing the game with the metal ring tied around the string. How how much are you on the game in order to be ranked that high?
Um, so me and Chalupa were discussing this in terms of hours. I don't know how many hours I spend on 2K, to be honest with you. A lot of it is me just sitting on a court. So I can't calculate it off of what the game tells me, but I have spent a lot of hours grinding. And I mainly play whether it's Pro Am, the Rec, um, but majority of like I would say, especially this year, all my games have been with the Geeses. So that just shows you, like, in terms of the community, like, like I've had my battles with a lot of people in the community in terms of just helping me grind, get to where I want to get to. This year, I told Chalupa, like, my goal was to get to number 1 in Canada. Um, and for selfish reasons, it's because the number 1 of Canada has already contacted me, because he saw the gamer tag, or the clan name as the Canada Geeses, and was wondering, like, was all my players in Canada Geeses, and I told him yes, they all live in the igloos just outside my house. So yeah, it's been a grind, and I was pretty damn close, and I think next season I will definitely reach it. So look out for that.
Do you play in one of those like ice fishing huts, like in what's the movie? Grumpy Old Men.
Some days I do, some days I don't.
Finally, Chalupa, give me the case for you, the point forward at MVP.
Yeah, so I'm not much of a chirper, and I try to keep a level head about things, but I'm feeling really good about my play and about our play as a team. So I think I actually have a case for MVP, so I'm going to make it here. Sorry if I take some shots at other guys. But so I have 11 games played out of 20. I'm 10-1 in those games, with the only loss being against Crash Out Kings, the number 2 team, and that was in
On
a
patch
very
day.
close
On
game.
patch
Yeah,
day.
on patch day, on a patch that some might say was not the most competitive. Um, I've played 4 different positions. I've played true 1, 3, 4, and 5 in those 11 games with all sorts of different lineups. I've played multiple games on small guard, on this kind of scoring forward. I've played back end, and I've played a big. I played 7-4, all so far in the league. I think that the versatility counts for something, especially when you would look at the top of the statistical leaderboards, and who I imagine most people would say are up for MVP, and they are all small guard, primary ball handler types. Statistically, I think the numbers are there. I'm 73% from 2, 67% from 3 on a pretty tough shot diet. Take a lot of different types of shots from all 3 levels, including very, very deep threes, including fades. Um, I am averaging 5 boards and 6 assists. There's only a couple players who are up there. Guys like Bulldog Dan, 6-0 Mark when he was playing, especially on his forward, who are kind of filling the stats sheet in all categories the way like I am. And I think that if you're a believer in best player on the best team, even if I truly believe I'm not the best player on this team, especially going into playoffs, I think OG's like really found something on his current build, and I think is our best player going into playoffs. And I don't think it's particularly close, but statistically, I think most people would look at us and say that would be me. So if you're a believer in best player on best team, then I think that I'm the MVP this year. Sorry to guys like Draco, Gator Nation, Nap, and uh, some might even say that because I only have 11 games, that makes me less qualified to be MVP. But I actually think that it gives you kind of see an on-off sample with me because of that, and 6-3 without me. I'm really proud of our group for being able to do that as well. But 10-1 versus 6-3, I think shows that I'm having a positive effect on winning when I'm out there, kind of no matter how I'm out there. So yeah, Chalupa for MVP.
Ship it.
All right, guys. Anything else to say? Anything we didn't get out there?
Nope, I think we've taken enough people's time with this, but no. Thank you, Duck, for giving us an opportunity here. Thank you to the AJL for giving us this platform, and looking forward to this playoffs. And hopefully, we have a better story than we had the last couple seasons we've made it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. It's been really fun. It's been really fun getting to know the league more. While we were joking earlier that it might have been helpful not knowing the strength of the conferences we were in the early going. I will say it's just very fun, like learning the league lore, recognizing people's names and faces, like learning more about the individual players. Kind of, it makes every subsequent matchup more and more intense, and I hope people start feeling that way repeatedly seeing us, and hopefully repeatedly seeing us at the top of the standings and in highly competitive games with playoffs or whatnot. So yeah, thanks to the AJL for that.
All right. This has been a lot of fun. Dairy Daddies, good luck in the postseason, but not too much luck. This has been your AJL social media correspondent, Duck, signing off.